we've got people waiting now.
Oh, hang on. Will somebody
Recording
started?
Yeah. Okay, so I'd like to welcome Phil. I guess you'll be leading the discussion, and Rob. Can we save the questions to the end, let them talk through, and then we can pick up Q&A at the end. Right.
Thank you, Nick. Thanks. So, first of all, thanks for the opportunity to come along and talk to you today with Rob from Bentley about OpenRail Designer 2024. Rob's going to drive the slide pack, so we'll just have a look at a very quick agenda, and then we can see what we're going to be talking about. So you can see there we're going to try and cover an overview of what ORD 24 is, some of the key fundamental enhancements. We'll also be talking about the work that the PWI working group is doing with Bentley over the last 2 years to make this happen. And we're going through some real design examples in terms of your specific Western requirements, right to left design, and some negative cant, and an update about S&T libraries. So hopefully an interesting agenda which will run for about 45 or so minutes, and then the chance for Q&A at the end. So next slide, Rob. So the PWI working group with Bentley's been a very positive collaboration for almost 2 years ago when Joan had the opportunity to first reach out to Bentley on behalf of some of the corporate members. That 2 years has been a very positive experience and a very positive collaboration where we've, go to the next slide, Rob, have had the chance to really engage with Bentley and real UK world designers to really understand how the UK designers use the package. And that's led to very positive monthly workshops between the PWI and Bentley, and bi-weekly coaching, which has given us the opportunity to learn the software as it's been evolving and also to influence it. Go to the next slide. And during that 2-year period, we've had number 2-day workshops in London, where initially we had a chance to put our views and opinions around where OpenRail Designer was, and then this year in the early spring come back together and spend 2 quite intensive days really collaborating with the developers. That's probably the first real positive here. Actually, the meeting rooms are full of developers, designers, experienced people, and being able to collaborate and understand actually our workflows and see some of the great work that had happened in a kind of 12-month period. So yeah, it's a great chance to go down to London and actually get together with Bentley and our colleagues in the PWI from all design organisations involved. We go into the next slide, please. During that period of sort of the last 18 months, and more particularly the last 12 of intense developments, there's been a number of discovery sessions where some have been undertaken individually, some have been undertaken on a more broader group, where, for example, I've been leading a work stream on S&T bending. I've had the chance to talk directly with the developers, Piotra in Poland, Kvanch in the UK, and really get across our views, our opinions, and make sure they really understand our requirements. I cannot underestimate how valuable those discovery validation sessions are. They've also been undertaken with larger communities to understand more significant and fundamental work streams. Go to the next slide, please. A key part of this collaboration has been early access to virtual machines. Being able to test software on a virtual machine in the Netherlands is a little bit slow, but it's been able to give us the opportunity to be able to work outside of our IT environments and really make sure we can start to understand the enhancements that's been happening in the background. Go to the next slide. More importantly, in the kind of early summer, Bentley were able to supply us with laptops with an early version of OpenRail Designer that was updated towards the back end of the summer. And I cannot underestimate how valuable this has been, being able to work in parallel with our current systems and work in real time. The screen grab on the right only of last night being able to actually finalise some of the last products. So the use of effective laptops has been key to this, being able to update our workflows, our understandings, our knowledge, our experience in parallel to software releases. So a real positive sort of 2 years of collaboration, and that will hopefully give Rob another chance to say from a Bentley perspective the key things that change. Rob.
Right, so this is a quick, it's only like 6 slides. It's not an in-depth into what's new. As I said, we did that 2 months ago in Manchester, Liverpool. 2 months, maybe a month, I can't remember now, but it'll be online somewhere. So we had a few priorities to put in the bucket. Right to left profiles was one. So in here now, we'll come on to this a bit later, but we can now do right to left profiles So that's on a normal profile, design profile, curvature diagram. When you create drawings, again, that's pretty much a very important toggle there. And we've set up text, so it does this duplicate mirror stuff. So right to left, big, that's a big item. Next one, please, Phil. Multi-profile. Probably haven't seen this, or some of you may have done, but maybe not. The way we work now, we have a profile along section, and you can project in other tracks, other pieces of geometry. And you have to do it manually. And it's all one at a time. And, you know, so really it's a big auto checking tool. So in this case, we've got an up, down, we've got a main, and we've got a crossover. So projection, it does it. And we can change stuff like what it views, symbology, how much you want to see. That's all cool. But that's just the first part of the solution. Next one, please, Phil. So as I said, this is really just a track analysis tool. So again, part of the PWI, we sat around in London 2 years ago now in April, doing a year and a half, and tried to decide what do we need to check against. So this is like a big tracking tool. So when you've got your profile open, you can access this, and whatever's inside the profile, you're going to scan against. And all these you can turn on and off. And again, we had a top list of what would you like to see. So we've got cant, we've got curve length, we've got a slew, lift, radius, elevation, offset, horizontal and vertical, that kind of stuff. So as you move, you can basically see a tracking. Also in here, you can set, it's called, what do they want to call them? Basically parameters. So I can say, right, show me everything over 50 mil vertically in red or something. Just a big dynamic tracking tool. Also with that, you set your first one as your main line, but you can also just toggle any one you like and flip it. And those other ones will still play projected. So it's kind of a smart tool. This is the first pass of this tool. It's a tech preview. We're looking at a bit more in here to maybe create some reports from this and stuff, maybe adding more value. But for now, it's just a big tracking analysis tool, which I think is going to be really useful for when you've got multi-track and you're trying to tie stuff in. Next one, Phil. Also, it synchronizes views. As we pan on the plan, it's going to move the profile. And also going to move the cross section. So it's all linked. So again, we're looking at here, we're checking out where we've got these different tracks and they're coming in. So as you move through your sections and stuff, this thing moves. Again, it's just an analysis tool. Next one, Phil. Regression. Completely trashed the old regression. May look on top the same, it's not. It's a new thing, completely new. So what we have now is this box. I'm not going to use the name I normally use. I'm going to try and keep it professional for a change. But this big box contains information. We call this regression complex. And it contains horizontal as well as vertical, automatically. So when you create a horizontal element, it automatically creates this vertical zone, if you want. Almost like, I hate to say it, an ALG. You've got a project, you've got a horizontal, you've got a vertical, you've got cant underneath there. Kind of a similar thing. And we can put anything we like in here, and it's going to work. And you can even you can draw a CAD graphic and add it in, make it a civil element, and you can add it. It doesn't have to be done through regression. I could do IP and add it to my regression line, and it'll recalculate. Next one, please, Phil. This links to this regression point table. So when you create your regression points, it creates this table automatically. This is not just an X, Y, Z now. So now we have things like slew, lift and lower, cant, existing cant, radius, instantaneous radius, offset, is it used, point, is it ignored? So we had a few of those things before in the regression tool now, but you never had lift, lower, cant, existing cant, slew. And it's not just a dumb table. So you can show deltas, differences in slew between points. You can highlight things, you can select those points. You can do edits on those section of points rather than using maybe a curvature diagram. Next one, please, Phil. So it's all part of this regression thing. Also, is this trace tool. Let's call it the MX. And we use an MX, yeah. So one person, that's good. Oh, eventually taper it off. There's two in here. In the old BRT, we have a curvature diagram. Plan, curvature diagram is a curvature diagram. Now we can do that. We can also have this trace. You pick the first point, I'm going to show this in a minute. You pick the points along, and this dynamically just changes. You get the zones you can set. It will show you the slews. in millimeters and not 0.005 or whatever. So again, a giant leap for mankind on that. Just linked again to regression. Can still do it the old way, but you can jump into the new way if you want to. Next one, Phil. Curvature, still there. We got rid of that. We had a thing called 1 over, what was it, deflection, which was really crazy. It's now back to radii. Pretty much the same box. We've got these zones still. You can still see the existing cant if you create from rails and stuff like that. But still use it. Keep it here. If I do stuff on plan using that previous trace, these are all highlight here and it'll show me there. The colors mean it's a curve or a straight, stuff like that. Next one, Phil. Complex table, we mentioned that. So again, these are the elements. So as you start placing things along, can be gaps, can be anywhere, it's going to put them into this complex table. It automatically has created this vertical space. So I can then start doing verticals as I go along. When we had the meeting, a long time ago now, we wanted this everything everywhere all at once. It was too linear, BRT. You had to do something else, find out it was wrong, and then go back and think, oh, I'm going to redo that and edit it. What we want to do now is do all this. So this also links to cant. I can place the first curve, I can have the vertical, do the cant all in one, and it creates the cant all the way along. Obviously, it can be 0 when there's no elements, but it stores that information. So it's everything everywhere all at once. It's trying to give you more information. And again, you can add to the complex, you can nudge from here, we can remove it and delete and stuff like that. Next one, Phil. Vertical, as I mentioned, the vertical space gets created automatically. It automatically knows when you're doing regression, it's got a vertical. And as you place elements, and again, we get in our horizontal information here, we got a curve, a straight curve, whatever, can have gaps, and it'll fill it in, and it'll expand as you move along. So again, it's everything everywhere all at once. Like on horizontal, you could do regression on here, or you could just draw, a bunch of IP stuff and add it to that regression line, and it'll recalculate all the lips. Yeah. Next one, Phil. Design calculator. I don't spend too much on this. We had it before. 23 wasn't as useful as dynamic. It is now. It's a lot better. It links into the cant editor. Next one, Phil. Not too much in there. So cant. Go along again. Completely redone. Yeah, again, like regression. It looks like it's the same on top. Underneath, nothing has been kept. If you've used 2023 and stuff like that, you know there's a speed table. You create a speed table, and then you create the cant, and they were separate, which is quite annoying. You have to go back and open up the dialog. It's all in one now. You also have a thing called cant projections, so we can project cant across the switch, project the main line onto that switch, just over those points. Tell you where do you want to start, where do you want to end. Also got things like left and right rail. It's going to highlight that. It's going to give it speed. It's going to give it radius. Again, got a lot more columns here, which are going off to the right, but you can just turn them on and turn them off. Is it calculated? Is it fixed? But again, it's linking straight away to the geometry. I don't have to do a complete piece of horizontal to do cant. I can start with one element, start. It's going to be in there, yeah? So cant redone, hopefully, and we'll show a bit of that, just as one Phil's example in a bit second. Next one, Phil. Reporting, this has always been problematic. I've got a report over here which tells me the slews. I've got one over here which gives me the list. I've got another one which is geometry. Typically now, right mouse, save to Excel, cut, paste, put it into one big thing. With help from Phil and others in the group, we're trying to combine these. Still work in progress, there's still more to do. But in this example, we've got slew, we've got lift, lower, existing cant, design cant, for example, all in one form. There's a bunch of new reports you'll see. You could quite easily, if you want to do color code these, anything over 100 mil color code it. That's not difficult. This isn't, but you could do. So again, ongoing geometry is ongoing, but now we're trying to combine more into one thing. Next, that should be it. Life. Right. Okay. So I've got to now drive. So right to left profiles.
So yeah, just while Rob gets ready, we're keen to give you an insight into the actual software so you can see the software working live. I'm very aware that Western region's got a very specific requirement that right to left design is a thing. it may be unusual to other people thinking right to left, left to right. Why do we need both? That's a key requirement, and there's always been an opportunity for OpenRail to kind of develop. So it's just hopefully the first chance you've been able to see some of it live. It's a site that's very passionate in my career. Didcot North Junction, the first chance I had to work with Nick, so I'm going to just put it out there for sentiment value. But yeah, it's one of those, there's a bit of legacy there. So that doesn't get me Christmas cake, I don't know what will. But anyway, so Rob, I'm going to let you
Right, so we got it's very quick. I'm not going to spend too long on this for a lot of time. There is some information on the web Cavench. I think it's made some movies. I'm not sure we posted them yet. We haven't posted them until the product is released, but also there's a lot more in the help file. I just want to point out the help file Cavench has been dramatically overhauled. So this is, we go in right to left. So this has been created, right rail, left rail. The curvature diagram I've opened, still the same. But now most of these diagrams you're going to toggle. It's as simple as that, yeah. Whether it's on a profile, curvature diagram, whether it's creating the name boundaries, which is how we now create our drawing sheets. Just got to make sure they tie together, yeah. So when you do an annotation, it's going left to right, right to left. So this could stay as it is, and you could do whatever you normally do. Yeah, there it is. There's a curve somewhere in here, maybe two curves actually. But we're going to ignore that completely, and we're going to go up here. And I'm just going to pick that, and we will move that. I don't even need I'll do it professionally. We'll set a feature definition. For the ones who don't know what is a feature definition, basically that's a symbology. How is it going to display? Red for curves, green for straights, yellow. Is it all pink? Is it all blue? What is it? Yeah. So in here we've got a whole set, and we'll talk about those a bit later. If I come down to, let's just do work in progress. There we go. That'll do. So here you get a start. Over. As we move along, so this is our trace, yeah, which is our good old MX trace line. You can see on the profile as well, the coach diagram, we're getting the same thing. We're now showing, then you see these dynamics on the screen, these green things. You can turn more of those on and off if you want. They can be on, they can be off. It's just a display in design file settings. And again, the slews are in millimeters, like I said, 0.0006 or whatever we have right now. So that makes life a lot easier. So you just come along, and if I zoom in a bit, you see you get these little zones. You've got the red and the green. And over here, we've got desirable and unacceptable. It's up to you. I'm not a designer. What do I care? I'm just going to come along here and do this somewhere. And Phil's going to say it's really cool. Maybe not. But that's what you're going to do. But key thing here is you can look at the screen there or look on plan. When you move along the plan, of course, that regression line, that regression trace is dynamically changing. As you move, the slews are getting more. It's going to exaggerate and shift away. So hopefully, you've been a designer will understand where things are going badly wrong. And you can extend, I think I've set to 50, this exaggeration. You can set it more if it's really exaggerated the slew line, yeah. But ultimately, you're just going to come along here. And I'll just go to there. I'm not sure where I am anymore. And what you get now is an additional box. And you can see here, we've got some numbers. It's T1 to T11. If I get this wrong, I can just pick these. Put the wrong way, let's do the end. Let's just do that. So I can just extend that as a minimum. Still in the command, still calculating, haven't accepted anything yet. So I may, because on my eyesight's pretty poor, the contact lens is not good, I'm making a rough idea. So I'm looking really at the point numbers. So T11 here, T10, or I can just pick these up, start and end. We're happy with that thing. We accept it. We then give the nudge tool, automatically goes straight to nudge. And again, I can come down here and we can set this to 1300. I'll do an enter. Again, nothing saved yet. It's still on the end of the cursor and it's still asking what's going on. You see, they set to 5 minus 2. I set that to 1400. I've now got more, which I don't want probably. But we'll go back to 13. Yeah. When you're happy with all that, I'm just going to accept it. Done. Yeah. You see on here, these colors change, and these are fixed. And the straights will be a different color. you get these bands, you can see dynamically what you've got. Now, I could do a straight, I could draw something else, but we're going to run out of time, so I'm not going to do it. We did think about doing it, but I could draw anything in here. So I could go to my geometry, just to let you know, and I could go in here, and let's just come down to rail design workflow. What is rail design workflow, you may ask? That's our workspace, our custom menu we put in as part of the workspace. We've looked at what the task menus were. It's a starter for 10. If you don't like it, change it. But it's our idea, what hopefully people are going to want. Any suggestions on changes, send them in to me, and we'll change it in the next version of the workspace file, yeah? So we're looking for comment. So this, you could go to geometry, and I could draw a line in here. You could come in here. It's going to go badly wrong. So let's just do that. And if you look at this thing, it's just a civil element. And we go over here. And I can add to regression complex. Just going to pick you. So now that thing, even though I just drew it randomly, it's now got slews. So it knows. I can remove it, but it's now part of that, sort of that big box, placed into that big box of life, yeah? So again, you look in here, completely wrong. Hopefully the observant will know, maybe we want to put it straight there. But, I can come in here. So if we look at our big box, which we talked about, there it is. So it appeared added to the big box. I can cut it out, which keeps the element, it removes it from the box, or if you do a good old delete, of course, that's just going to delete that. Notice horiz, vertical, get rid of you. And if we come up here, just quickly want to show this. So this is, again, one of your top toys to play with. It's got my slews here, it's got my station elevation, it's got the feature name, it's got the geometry, which I put in there. So again, that information, hopefully, as you are designing, it's going to be ready for you to use. What else are we showing here, Phil? I think that's it, isn't it? Oh, one more thing. Let's just do that. So I clicked on here to create an active profile, or profile, you call it an active profile, BRT, but just a design profile. So it's automatically put in the regression line vertically for that thing. When I created it, I said use low rail, left rail, right rail, base off a low rail. Can do anything you like there. If we went to, let's just do this, went to a vertical regression, I could pick this. And again, whoops, let's just do it around the right way. I want to toggle this right to left. So our design profile again is going with you. Yeah. Vertical regression. Pick you, pick the star. That's right, just like horizontal. As I swipe over, what it's trying to do here is just a straight line. And again, it goes into the nudge tool, so I can move stuff up and down. We do have this thing called try and limit max lower. It will try and calculate, reset everything. If I come back, it will just show me that. So these dynamics will stay on until I can turn them off, but I can then move it, I can adjust it. I'm going to do your job for you. Next, yeah. Key thing, it's all linked. So in here, if I go back to our good old friend, our regression, there's my arc automatically placed in there, yeah. It'll order correctly. It doesn't do that. Check integrity, we've got to reorder stuff when you place it, and if it orders straight in reorder. Yeah, that's it really from right to left. So
thanks, Rob. So yeah. The power of this is being able to combine workflows where you don't only have to use regression. You can use civil geometry, you can use CAD, you can use fixed, float, free, linears and arcs. It's again different tool sets to be able to combine workflows to ultimately through into complex. But an important thing is now you can see slews, lifts and lowers, and you can add and remove and adjust the complex without having to redefine and remove it. So it's very, very powerful. Thank you, Rob. Good.
I can see it.
You can see it. I can. I
See Penwithers here.
You see Penwithers, okay. I'll try and fill in the gap while the slide comes on. So something I wanted to really talk to you today was the complexities of looking at contra-Fletcher S&C and negative cant. It's always been a challenge in design worlds where we place turnouts in less than desirable places. So Penwithers is a site just outside of Truro where I grew up in branch commences. I'll just have to go about this. So as part of Devon and Cornwall signal renewal works, we had to recover track points. The lead that the Penrose branch is, it's an RT60 lead. I can't remember the switch size off my head, but it's about 60 mil of negative cant on the lead. It's an interesting design. The alignment comes out. It's got a linear straight, which has also got cant on it, and then it goes through transitions. So quite a complicated piece of geometry to design that in a 3D point of view was always very difficult in the old world, where with the inside of the curve always being the low rail, and you've got contra-Fletcher turnouts and negative cant, everything is mirrored. So I don't know, Rob, if you can go to the next slide, please, just to give a bit of context. Yeah, the design was an ESDD design for Grip 5 to recover part of the Cornwall resignaling. So there's about a -3000 curve with about 6 mil of cant coming off the down main down towards Falmouth. Quite a complicated situation. Rob, to go to the next one, please. The reason for having to do this is that to supply construction services with 3D centre lines and rails for setting out purposes, excavation files, this is business as usual for us. So historically, you'd have to look at creating a fake cant rail, adjust it vertically, try and get everything to be about right. So being brave and industry leading, we decided to use this as the CMCRE track as an opportunity to start learning open rail designer, real world, live and live. So open rail design is used for 2023. Kavans, one of the product managers, has introduced something called Force Positive, which enables you to change the cant rotation from inside the rail to outside the rail, whatever else. So it was an opportunity to collaborate with a deadline in hand. I think like focusing attention where it's needed, and we're just going to go through the process of actually using Force Positive for an AFC design software that we're learning, because we could. I think the stage is yours, Rob. There's real world, we do have to do this quite often. Contra-Fletcher turnouts, negative cant, inside the rails inverted, and sort of the process Rob's going to be taking you through high level is the process we've come up with that our construction services colleagues successfully installed. This was used for about 3 or 4 sites in Cornwall where we've had this complexity. I don't know, Rob, if you want to drive and I talk.
Yeah, I'll drive. Do that.
And talk over me, or
I'll do the first bit, and then you can do the technical bit. There we go. So these are red, green, and yellow lines. There we go. So this is it. Basically, it's geometry. I think it's an ALG. I bought this. I think it was. Yeah, XML. We're coming down the screen. So we have a horizontal, we have a vertical. Yeah, and again on our profile, click on that. There we go. We can set this to be, right to left, as we're doing. One thing which is new, I just want to quickly show. So if we do this, we've got a tracking tool, the analyze point tool now has been enhanced a lot. We can now toggle on this place text, copy the clipboard thing. The rest of the values are pretty much the same. So we can use this as a validation again. We've got a speed of 50 miles an hour. We've got no cant at the moment. So it's just a quick geometry check. But just for your information, there is a place text or copy the clipboard, whatever's in this dialogue here. Again, I've got AccuDraw turned on. Let's get rid of that. It's better. You can copy in. We had it before in tools, tracking, general, I think it is, whatever it's called. I think it's general, but it's back, bottom line. So what do we need to do, Phil? What do we need to do? So first thing we need, let's just do this. What's in here? Speed. Yeah, let's do that. I think it's moving between. So speed table. You have to apply a speed table first. We don't know what it's doing. So we do that, and that's going to be 50. I know it's 50 because I set it up previously. But in that dialog, you can come in here and I can change that. Make everyone have multiple speeds if we want to. In this case, where we didn't do that. So then you get to the create cant. And I come over here and wait for my dialog box to appear somewhere. There it is. Really, the only thing you need to worry about here is, A, if we got more than one speed scheme, we have an issue. You can have multiple speed schemes, so you can pick whichever one you want. Equilibrium and apply constant. We haven't quite got it in the old way. You could set it in rail settings. At the moment, there's stuff in design file, but not all of it. That's our next job for 25. So it remembers the last thing in the dialog box. So if you're on 32 track or 35 track, it was obviously a subtle difference. Just make sure you get the numbers right, that's all. But the most important bit is this false positive. We've got the usual suspects, inside, center, outside, but these false positives what we need. Feature definition, I said, the name, in real words, you give these names, feature definition, symbology, line, color, line style, weight. But in anything you do in the new world, keep an eye on the names because they matter later on if you're doing reports from something to something else. Naming can be really important. So you pick the start, pick the end, you then basically left mouse click through prompts, and you get to this thing. I'm going to move up because it's in the way of the dialog box there. So pretty similar to what you've already got. It's a table. That's it. The only thing different really is rotate about. You've got false positive. And in this thing, we want it to be -60. And Phil can, while I'm typing in, explain why we're doing this.
So we're forcing the cant to be 60 mil negatively applied, and there's again some really good information found just on an AMP file. But by applying that -60, it knows to put the cant onto the opposite rail. As Rob's populating that, you can see the cant profile in red starting to be forced over onto the left-hand rail, in this case going down the branch, being applied across the linear element and then coming down that cant gradient of 1 in 1,000 across the transition. So it's a very visual, intuitive tool, being able to see how the cant's been inverted and applied forced positively onto the adjacent rail.
Yeah. Also, probably can't see from the back there, but left rail is saying 60 for the first 3 items. Yeah. So you've got this right left rail check, where in the past it would be a bit vague, put it that way. Yeah. So that's done pretty much in here. We can turn these columns on and off. We can get rid of the diagram. There's other stuff you can do, which is not for today, but we're done there. And again, could do a report. If I went back to our good old friend tracking, probably can't see on the screen, but now it says 60 cant up here. And as we get onto the transition there, it's ramping down till we're down to 0. Again, just a sanity check. That's all it is. So, next part we are going to do is going to jump forward when I prepared earlier.
So this is getting confidence as a designer, being able to visualize what's going on, to be able to report and analyze. You get that confidence step by step. What you're doing is correct.
So in here, so we got our cant, and I've created got a cross section view set up with LNR, just so you know which is the left, which is the right. So a couple of things we have to do. We need to create these things called create rails. So in the, come on, S&C, and I want to get to it. I can't do it. The stupid box is in the way. Do that. So in the S&C kind of workflow, right at the right-hand side is sleepers. We want to get the rails to get the strings, basically centerline. We can do running edge or center. We want centerline in this case. So we want to get the centerline strings, because then what we can do, we can project those into our profile. But again, just another sanity check. Before we start exporting this stuff, let's make sure we're doing what we think it's doing. And then we're going to link it, basically, we're going to link to another template, which is going to give our rail plane, our track plane. Again, just another check. So this command is quite easy. It does need a template library. And if we click on this button here, if you've never seen a template library before, it's basically a bunch of sections which we push along our geometry to create the model, the mesh model. Now, whether it's a single rail, and again, we don't care, this hasn't got curves on here, it hasn't got any, niceties. We have got others in here. If I pick one of those, it has. But we just want it as a center line. It's just a visual check. These other ones we can use for ballast. So if I've got a double track with ballast stuff, you can push. But as far as you're concerned, single rail. Down here, you can set the feature definition, and I'm going to ignore the name. And it's going to ask me on the prompts again, all the things appear on the end of the cursor. You can set things up preloaded here, but basically it's going to ask me to accept the center line. I've got to go back to here, so let's just do that again, because I was moving around. Come on. Let's just do you. Back here. There we go. And it's going to be start and end. There's only one option in here. We're done. And in here, you can see a little mesh. This is a 2D view. This default is 2D. So it's creating a 3D model again automatically. That's a different change to what we normally do, what we have done in the past. So move you out of the way. And if we look at this, so this is a dynamic profile. Just zoom out a bit. So here you can see, I'm just stepping through 10 meters in this case, I think it is. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And again, looking at this, the rails automatically take on board the CAD. So we're just, again, we're not quite there, but we can see it's the left rail, it's the right rail, we're coming down the screen. So next thing, what did you do next, Philip? What did you do? Yeah.
Project the rails into profile.
Right. Yeah.
Alignment slope.
So what I'm going to do in here is just turn off the level. And again, we're using decent level structure inside the workspace, so it should all be good. If I turn off, which I want to do, TRP, you'll see here we have, if I zoom into here, we've got an inside edge, we've got a center line. Yep. Now a machine named that because I left it as a scene name. So what I really want to do is, again, we could leave it for today, but in the real world, I want to come in here and, oops, let's get back to the properties before I move the mouse over. Give these sensible names. Yeah. Again, not so much for now, but later on, things like reporting, you know, setting out, stuff like that. So obviously I've only got one left and right rail in this case. So the feature definition tells it it's a color, what level it's on, blah, blah, blah. And this gives names. So next thing we want to do, this is our center line geometry. Yeah. What I want to do now is project. I want to see these in here. Again, just as standard check. Have I got the CAD around the right way? Is it doing what I think it's doing by projecting the rails in? So in our vertical, we can just go here. Now we'll do this one. Quick profile to element. There we go. We'll pick that. So element to project. Again, I'm going to ignore the feature definition. I should do left and right, but for today, we're going to bypass the rules. Project onto. And you see down here, now I've got another line. Again, that onto there. So this one, my good old friend, right-hand rail. Yeah. So we're looking here. Again, come down here. Make sure that's right to left. As we're coming down, we can see there's a gap. The other one under here, there's two in here, which should be. So there's two elements. One is going to be the geometry, which is that one, and one is going to be the, if we get to it, the left rail. So again, all good. Could use tracking. Again, our good old friend tracking. So next.
I'm going to jump to the end one, Rob. Just look at the cross sections at the end. Do you think we're good? We're good.
Now we're good. 2 minutes to do this one.
All this is a visualization again as a CRE design. You want that visual confidence that what you're doing is correct. You can see your low rail, which is the low rail. You can project your left rail on your right rail on. You can see visually. You can report. You can measure. Having the ability to look at multiple views from a plan and analyzing tool, a cross section and the long section simultaneously gives that confidence and the visual project.
So just a quick thing I'm not going to do. I'm just going to jump ahead. because we need time. But what we do now, we basically have a template down here. That one, it's just called track plane. So it's just left and right rail joined by the ribbon. That's what it is. So this thing will rotate to suit the cant. Yep. So when we run this first time, it's just flat earth. There's no cant applied. So what you do then, you come over here and you say assign cant to corridor. When we create a template, it creates called a corridor, this like this zone, just this band. And this zone contains all the template drops. So you assign cant to corridor, click on there. It automatically then assigns these your points in the template, basically left rail, right rail, center line. It knows the rotation. And you end up with number 4. Which is this thing. So this now, and this is really the main bit really. The rails, we don't need those, because they are what they are. And if I click on here, just get to turn that level off. But I can step through. Here we go. Just watch that. And this thing is going to go down again. Pure sanity check. And the last thing we come in here and do would be a report. Again, before we export to XML, stuff like that, we would just go in. And throughout here, you should see a bunch of places with reports. I've tried to include them as much as possible. So here, I hate to call it Clippy, but we all remember Clippy, but it's not. So station base, and you're going to pick left rail, and I'm going to pick right rail. Actually, do that. Let's do that one. Ignore that. Let's do that again. Come on. That one's the left rail. Force first offset. It's going to be that. Could do more. We're going to ignore more. We're going to do 10, and it's just next. We're going to look in here for our vertical. What we're looking for really is just the vertical column. Standard report. Could do a customized one, but you're looking just to check that your right-hand rail is doing what you think it's doing.
Thank you, Rob. So a really intuitive, powerful and visual design workflow, which, say, construction services are able to install definitely 2, if not 3 sites in Cornwall. It's the first time we've been able to successfully model 3D negative cant, and I hope that's a really useful insight into how you can do it in a very visual, intuitive and step-by-step correct way. So thanks, Rob. If you can go back to PowerPoint and hopefully the right picture slide. I'll have to jump to chairs. So yeah, it was a real good opportunity to learn the software in a live AFC environment, which gets answers to questions sometimes, but why shouldn't you? And so it's hopefully a positive workflow that helps other people and designers. If you go down 2 or 3, please. I think it's a photograph. Next one, thanks. See ya. So, doesn't matter. Okay, Rob, if you carry on. So within the SDD, with Engineering Services Design Delivery, we've been using OpenRail Designer 23 and early release of 24 for design products. These are just a few examples. So next slide, please. We used it for Devon and Cornwall signalling, remodeling, integration. The signalling designers were third parties who were provided with 3D signal designs. This is just a chance to show how you can start to introduce BIM and 3D and confederation models, being able to visualize what the signals are from a longitudinal lateral point. Again, in a new world of OpenRail Designer and using schematics, that signal, which may have a critical overlap, or it may have associated AWS, DPWS, whatever else it may be, can all be given rule sets and fixed. If the signal moves, the other stuff that's linked to it moves, and it tells the right people, I've moved, you wish to accept that. That's perhaps a new world we need to be moving into for design integration. If you go to the next slide, please. We also undertaken a piece of work for HS2 on network works at Handsacre. Again, it's just a chance to use OpenRail Designer to look at quick vertical design. So here's just a scheme sketch showing how you can quickly look at vertical over 5 or 6 route miles and do a quick horizontal and then start to place some S&C very quickly, very effectively. A few hours work, which historically would have taken several days. Next slide, please. And then as part of a peer review or a CAP3 check, I was asked to look at integrating a recent ESDD multidisciplinary design for bridge reconstruction across the M62. And this was a chance to bring in the 3D model from civils, look at the earthworks, look at the track alignments, and then produce cross sections, which were really powerful, being able to check the tracks were coplanar, sufficient ballast depths, and clearances to underlying structures. So again, it's trying to give you an insight in how you can start using 3D designs for integration and not having to look at bits of paper, reports, transposition of numbers, typos. Gives you full confidence in 3D. Next slide, please, Rob. So as part of my strategic work stream within ESDD, I've been specifically looking at how we approach bending of S&C within Network Rail. And let's say there's a schematic there that shows S&C can be bent similar flexure inside a curve, contraflexure on the outside of a curve, or bent back to straight. And the illustration there of me using it on the rubber was how I was taught by Andy Raglan back in 2000. It's something that means visually something to me. Just remember that lead length and crossing angle maintained at all times. It's just a visual that's stood the test of time for 24 years. So it's been a really collaborative piece of work with Piotra in Poland. If you go to the next slide, please. Piotra's produced this little schematic that says it's not that easy. So as the video plays, this is showing how the S&C arms and branches are placed. Point 1 is the toe, point 2 is the mainline IP, point 3 is the turnout branch IP. They're linked together with a crossing angle, a ratio 1/tan theta, and all these comprise of lead lengths, crossing angles. So the white arms, 0.10, 0.2, 0.3 are arms length ratios. The green dash, not sure how well communicates, is the turnout branch geometry. And what we're trying to show is that the S&C turnout branches geometrical elements, they have to converge at 0.3 correctly and coincidentally. So that's a very powerful visual that makes a lot of sense to myself. Next slide, please. So the agreed approach with Network Rail and Bentley is that the lead length must be maintained at all times when placed on the inside and outside of a curve. So that's a key requirement. And that the turnout branch geometry converges correctly at 0.3. So the green dashed lines geometry converge onto the end of the branch. That's absolutely essential. And that the direction at 0.3 is correct. What we're building the geometry off from the IP is tangentially correct and takes a crossing angle from the S&C library. We're trying to bend triangles and arms onto curves. Something has to give. That's just the geometrical requirement. So possible trade-offs are internal branch collinearity, potential non-tangencies of a very minor nature in the earlier part of the geometry, and a potential kink at the toe. Again, this is a huge amount of work that's taken a number of months to resolve with Piotra and Kavanch and others to try and find the best solutions. And again, it's been iteration, check. Next slide, please. So as part of this validation, all S&C from all libraries placed on straights and 500-meter curves, inside, outside, left and right, 4 solutions, several hundred layouts to check. And again, Piotra was kind enough to provide some schematics. So here, I'm not sure how it shows on the screen, but lines that show toes, line that shows IPs, lines that show lead lengths, lines that show the arms, lines that show turnout branch, very quick visual checks, check crossing angles, lead lengths and branches. So placing things on 500-meter curves to make it a bit more challenging, looking at things on divergent intervals, partially placed towards transitions. So here, site in Shortfield, Glasgow, the transition starts at the IP, wide interval, just looking at something a little bit more complicated. Next slide. And again, being able to check it from first principles, just to make sure that the solutions we're seeing compared to track design handbooks are close. It's really important for Network Rail that the NR60 Mark II C switches and for supply chain were also available. So again, a huge amount of work developing C switches. That brings us on to the updates to the standard design catalogue. So for the last sort of 12 months, I've been working with Matt Crompton and Technical Authority, Mark Kidd, my principal engineer track, as my peer, and other people within my team within engineering services to update the RIPWs. So the agreed numbers from Matt Crompton and technical authority will be 1209, 1217, and 1223 as DGen libs. So just to be clear, 1209 will be the NR56 fee, S&C library. Historically, it's been a text file, 1205, 1206 XML. It's now 1209 as number up sequence. So that's the NR56 fee. That's legacy designs. It's maintained, but it's historic. 1217 is the NR60 or RT60 layout, again, quite specific to the 2000 era. West Coast, again, probably just like renewals, generally not used for enhancements. And then 1223 is the new exciting Christmas present, where we've included C switches and some additional layouts. So next slide, please. The standard design catalogs were created by myself, Okan Oran, and Mark Kidd back in 2016. We use those as a single source of truth for designs for NetherRealm. We've had a library since 2018 for our NR60 Mark II. They have had C switches internally, they've never been supplied externally. There were some software limitations that have been resolved in ORD 24. Early this month, we've updated the Mark II suite to include C switches completely, adding a B8, C10.75 and a H32 and something. And again, they've been reviewed by Mark and validated as part of our assurance to the technical authority. Next slide, please. And the reason for this is that technical authority control the S&C libraries through the standard design catalogue. They are controlled for future developments and are not issued by Bentley. For the purposes that new layouts will be added to the Mark II suite, working groups commencing next month to look at higher speed switches, potentially diamonds, etc. So they will be available from the standard design catalogue imminently. I've got the files to supply. It's just a case of getting them through the upload process and final sign off. Next slide. Cheers. So thanks to Rob. He's created the DGen libs, new way of handling S&C and ORD. So 1209, 17, and 23 will be the things we're looking for. And again, feature definitions, style sets have all been assigned. So the files that I have on my laptop, which are probably quite exciting to other people, will be what's on the standard design catalogue. And they've all got feature definitions so they visualize and behave correctly in the new environment. Next slide. Over to you.
You can just talk about this. Yeah. If you want to do 1 minute on workspace. But I can do it if you want. Yeah, we've been looking at a workspace for some time, and we've done it. So yes, that's it. It's done. It's ready. It's not issued yet. We've got to get it basically compiled. We've been working with various of the group, the committee members when we did the last 2 years. We've got a lot of examples. We think it's good, but the bottom line, it will be issued. It won't be part of the software. It'll be external download, one of the localizations. It'll be UK, anything that's in there will be called UK Rail. There will be one called Rail, but that's part of the metric workspace we delivered. So do not use that. That's used as a Bentley kind of standard settings. UK Rail. If it says UK Rail, then it's stuff we have created as a group. It needs a workspace and a work set. Phil's got a nice picture here. Everything is driven by a workspace and a work set. The workspace tells you what files to load, what configuration. So if you run in here, and I don't know, Imperial for some reason, you're not going to see UK Rail, but it'll be a separate download. Will be available when we issue the software, which is early December. We're pretty much almost done. We've done enough now that now we're bored of it. It's just got to get it out. There's so many times you can change stuff. We will be looking for feedback though. So again, we will load that custom menu, the colors, all that stuff. The levels are there. If we miss something, let us know. It's not the end of the world. We expect we're going to miss something, right? We're bound to have. So if you've got any ideas as well, we've looked at many different examples of different companies. So, okay, these seem to be what people want, and maybe not, maybe others. So again, feedback is good. If you get it, use it, let us know. We're more than keen. There'll be another version, and it's not like a software download, which is yearly. This we can do, quite quickly if we wanted to. So in particular, we could do it very easy to release. So again, annotation, all this stuff is, we think we've covered it. I'm pretty sure we have. So things like here, can annotations, you can't see, transition length, speed, rate of change and stuff. Profiles, all that stuff. The stuff we do now, preferences you can't bring forward. Just a new way of design. We have things called annotation groups, which have names. Basically, think of a name like a preference and you're in. We could do a whole new thing on this. We could do a separate topic on this one, but it's there. As I said, use it, give it a go, let us know. Turnouts, we don't have turnouts. All the turnouts have gone from our software. They were well controlled all those. Distribution, you want them? See these guys, yeah, because they control the maths. We just make sure it bends correctly. It's a much better system of doing that rather than us having to do something and then they send it back and So that's the new world. They will issue whenever they're ready, and we will change to suit. Phil mentioned diamonds. That's on our list for 2025. Piotr probably knows it. He's our maths wizard. He will start looking at that. So that's it on the workspace. Should be here soon, if not by the time. You may have seen some on the UK rail community thing. I haven't done it for a little while now because we've been working on a lot. There was a 23 version, but new version is 24, and that will link to that. There's new stuff in 24. So probably a good idea to start from scratch on the UK workspace. If you've got existing files, blow them away. Use them. Get the DGen libs from Phil or from wherever they are on the IPW part. Download them, copy them into the DGen lib section. Everyone will get those in. And then these guys update them. You get them a new one, you're going to get the new turnouts. Yeah. We're done. Over to you, Phil, to finish. Yeah.
Sure. So that's quickly exciting times ahead for engineering services and rail. Looking at higher speed switches, maybe 100 miles, 125 miles an hour. So say an insight into the work we're doing with technical authority and a prelim for one of the crossovers we've been looking at. Next slide, please. And just showing how perhaps track designers can, I wouldn't say take over the world, but empower the world and start to combine different workflows. So templates very powerful. Being able to construct platforms inside out, outside of curve, canted, potentially a lot easier in a new world. Models are good. And just to finish, really, just a huge thanks for positive collaboration to Joan, to the PWI, to Rail, to Bentley, to the corporate members. It'd be wrong to name anybody here, so I forget everybody. That's been so powerful. But as Dan's sketch or picture says, when we all work together, we achieve great things. So thanks, Joan. You've led and shared an interesting but very positive collaboration. So.
I can't take the credit for it. It all belongs to Julian Hooks of ICOM. He started it.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry a bit.
We're not finished yet. We're not finished yet.
No, it's ongoing. No, that's true. Yeah, this is not a final line in the sand. We will continue. We've got 25 to. There's more stuff in 25 to do. We haven't finished it completely by any means. But it's
as you would imagine, quite a few questions.
Yeah. Do the next slide or
to answer them.
So, shall we start with one online first?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Let's see where we go.
So you're now going to have an overhead line engineer read out remotely understand. We'll see how we get on. Right. This is from Alexander Reynolds. He asked, will transitions be separated out from the regression complex to allow their removal or recalculation without deleting the curved or straight element it is attached to?
Yes.
Right.
Well, it depends on the construction of that. Actually, I should highlight this. If there's rules in the new world, there's rules where geometry is created. If that was a spire which was created from a straight, say, sort of floating straight with a spiral on the end of it, in that list at the moment, you'll just see that complex. In the future, we're going to look at separating that even more control. But the first pass is, depending on how you constructed it, some cases yes, some cases no. But the future, we will make that clear for everything. We will partition that box out. Everything is individual, even though it's maybe 8 kilometers of stuff. It'll be pieces. So yes, with some caveats on that. Yeah.
Is there any questions in the room? Yeah, go.
Is there any alternative to the ALG file? So a XML export or such?
No.
Can send it in there.
Everything's in the DGN. Everything's stored in the DGN. Again, it's all our rules, and the way we call this design intent stuff, works across references. So reference. You can save, obviously, as an XML file. You can dump that out and report if you wanted to, as a backup and import in. There's nothing stopping you doing that. If you're in project-wise, of course, you can lock down those files for access. Could even lock it in MicroStation if you wanted to, but federation is really the key. So I could do the up and the down main in one file, maybe the side and the yard in another file. I place a turnout, I referenced in the mainline, the turnout's plate. It understands that rule. So if that turnout, say that radius changes from 5,000 to 20,000 or something, it understands that. Yeah. So it's not just dump everything in one file. If you had maybe 200, 500 meters, it's a very simple job. You could put it all. If you're going to start expanding, like Euston Station or something, then you really want to federate. Because again, you may have, you're doing one bit, the track drainage guy or the civils or the overhead line head of the bit is doing some work, and they're putting their mast right where you don't want it. So they can collaborate with you. So it's all this federated, they're linking into your track model, and they can see what you've done, you can see what they've done. So it's federation. There's no ALG as such, but you could use XML if you wanted to, or just lock it.
But sometimes we have 2 or 3 verticals for a horizontal line.
You're still going to have that. Yeah, you can still have horizontal multiple verticals. One is active, of course. So that is the one you design based off of. But yeah, you can still do that if you wish to. But you can't go the opposite way. There are many horizontals. Next one, anything else?
Right, we'll go online again. Another one from Alexander. Can the chainage in the vertical profile be fixed to whole chainages instead of being set to the changes in the horizontal geometry?
The whole chainages. Oh, instead of, yeah, we didn't do anything there. But yeah, if it's, you can set the chainage anywhere. Yeah, you can have station equations if you want. So add on, station plus 50 or something. Again, the vertical will link to the horizontal. Did we actually do any changes on that? I'm sure we did. We may have done, but you can set the chainage that will link, and you get how you display it is up to you, because we can turn on in that profile view the cardinal points, straight to curve, curve to spiral. Turn those off and just have 10, 20, 30, 40 if you want. That's just a view option. The geometry underneath is still doing its same stuff.
Any more in the room? Any? No? Trying to keep this moving, conscious.
Yeah, go. Sorry, we were over. We were
somewhere else too. But...
Another one from Alexander then. Can features of the topo, such as underbridges, be dropped into the vertical to allow lifts to be managed at cut-ins, etc.?
Project them in, yes. And again, we have this thing called regions in multi-profile, where it's a platform which is parallel or something cutting across the geometry plane. You can see those. Again, you could use that tracking tool, analysis to see if it's 3D, if it's 2D. It is what it is. 3D have a true elevation. You can say, right, the clearance is 5.16.
That'd be useful because we've got, obviously, we have our in-house overhead line tool, which is built on top of Bentley. So presumably we could integrate that, see the wire, see the clearances as we go through the bridge.
Yeah, anything. We can use anything, hopefully. Yeah, anything from anywhere. It's graphics or CAD, Autodesk, whatever.
Yeah, go.
Another one. Final one from Alex. Can the slew display be moved offset to the center line to ease reading? Can this be amended when editing feature definitions?
Slews just that's just a view display. I think we can. Yeah, I made those bigger. It could be smaller. I actually enhanced them just for the screen to make them bigger numbers. I think we can shift. I'm not sure about the shift, but we can turn stuff on and off. So you may just want point number, you may just want the slew, you may want instantaneous radius. There's other things you can do, existing cant in there if you want as well, design cant. But I think we can shift slightly. But again, mine was turned on automatically, like constant. You can have it only turns on when you click on the alignment rather than constant. People wanted it constantly on, otherwise it disappeared when you moved off. So you can do either way. I think you can shift.
Sorry, can you hear me okay? Can I just clarify that one? Yeah, sorry. Hi, it's Alex. It's more the position, not the size and the zooming. I know I understand how to amend the size, but it's the position of it on the center line needs offsetting to sort of the CES or 6 foot so that you can actually read it, because it's obscured with the rails. Again, when you've got the topo or multiple lines together, you can't see it easily, even an increased scale. So I was just wondering if you could offset it like you could in BRT. You could have it offset to the track corridor. I was wondering if that's within the feature definitions.
That's Alex, is it, Alex?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, don't know the answer to that one. Certainly this is the permanent. You could display those as annotation. That could be offset as a annotation group rather than this dynamic. I'll have to check on the dynamics for you. I'm not sure on that one. I would hope so, but if not, we'll put it in the bucket to do again.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for that.
Okay, I think we're going to have to do one more and then probably wrap up.
We can always answer those online afterwards.
Probably an easy one to finish with. Sean Merrifield. Hi, Sean. How you doing? Is the software compatible with through ProjectWise or other
Yes,
content
there you go. Yes. Hope so.
Sean will ignore your flippant comment in the chat there, saying that would be a first.
It is a first, Sean. Thank you.
Yeah, if there is a way of answering the remaining questions after the meeting, that'd be great.
We've got at least another half dozen.
If you want to type them in, we can do it when people are gone if you want.
You've got the team, so it's in the chat.
You'll see it.
So can we give them a quick round of applause? We haven't had anything this technical for a while. I think it's fair to say.
You're not quite.
Yeah, we've not had a very technical section meeting for quite some time. So I think for some people that's probably really refreshing. For me, my mind's gone.
So last night,
but no, thanks ever so much. And Phil, we were talking about this about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And Phil said I can't talk about it. I've signed an NDA. So thanks for fitting us in. And I know thanks for coming down. It's been brilliant.
Pleasure.
So we'll wrap up there because I've got somewhere else to be. A room full of people probably staring at me from over there somewhere. So 22nd of January, we're back here. Mona, our president, coming in to talk to us. And I think we're pretty well set up for the first 4 or 5 months next year now for section meetings. So keep an eye out for the announcements on those. And see you again. Cheers.
Yeah. Thanks, Nick. Brilliant. Answer these questions. Yeah, I don't know if I have to. I would share the presentation.